And then how is it affecting this community more than others?
Come on, man. I think people of color are always affected more adversely. If you look throughout history, we've been getting the most out of anybody for over 400 years. So this is only for like 4 weeks. You feel me?
I was about to say, haven't changed.
It hasn't happened to me, and so I haven't really seen a lot of, racism or anything like that. I'm being treated well. Everywhere I go, I've been treated well. It's just been more stressful than anything.
It's not affecting me because the word is written. God is sending a message.
Trump is behind all of this. Him and his partners getting rich. We're the very last to be served in all areas of this whole deal. You have to look at it like that.
All of this will come together if we come together. We have to come together and do this together. Stop the violence, stop the stressing, stop the hoarding. It's going to be okay.
There's nothing nobody can do about it, so you may as well accept it. On your knees. On your knees.
I'm delighted to be joined today by Dr. Gilbert Gee from UCLA. He's in the Fielding School of Public Health with an actual expertise in environmental health studies and racism, which I think is utterly fascinating. What is racism? I mean, there's obviously what we know from a generic standpoint, from a general standpoint, but from a scientific standpoint and from a theoretical standpoint.
Yeah, at the heart of it, racism is really a system of power and relations. And when you think about racism being connected to white supremacy, in many ways the key word there is supremacy. For many generations, it's essentially a system of domination originating from slavery as an example, where it's really about power and control, both economic and social and cultural control. And so we today are still part of the system of racism that was established many generations ago.
It is still prevalent, and it actually has a physical manifestation on people who are the victims of racism.
Unfortunately, COVID-19 is a good example of the resurfacing of prejudicial attitudes and discriminatory behaviors. And you're right.
Every disease has ever came from China, homie. Everything comes from China. It's disgusting. Chinese people are cool, but their hygiene, they have no hygiene. So I'm breathing this and I'm breathing everything that they bring to our country.
The stress from discrimination leads to something called allostatic load, which is essentially wear and tear on our bodies from chronic stress. And that in turn affects other systems in our body, like the immune system, the brain, and all these other things. And that's part of the reason why we see a diversity of health problems related to experiencing discrimination.
The Asian community, I remember very clearly thinking how sad it was when there were conversations with man-on-the-street interviews about, I'm feeling insecure, I'm feeling as if I'm being threatened, I'm feeling unsafe.
So words matter. Whether we say China virus versus COVID-19 really does appear to matter. So, in 2015, the World Health Organization issued a document saying that we no longer want to associate diseases with places, people, or even animals. I've actually been doing some research with some computer scientists. We did some analysis of Twitter and of tweets looking at whether the words, the phrase China virus had any different connotation compared to the phrase COVID-19. And what we found is, when tweets are associated with other hashtags, we found that there was essentially a 2.5 greater propensity to associate negative words to the phrase China virus compared to the phrase COVID-19.
I'm fascinated by even the modality of your research. How do you determine negative response in a tweet? What are some of the key words that you are looking for, or what is it that you're looking for that you can say, this is a negative tweet and this is a banal tweet?
Yeah, so you can essentially look, when people tweet something, they retweet it. Okay. Right, and so you might have hashtag something something and then add another hashtag to it, or hashtag something and then you add a sentence to it, right, to give your opinion about it. And so negative tweets, would be using racial slurs like chink. So, hashtag China virus, hashtag chink would be like one way to do it. Another way would be to say, hashtag China virus, we should bomb China. And we've seen phrases like that. And so we would consider that kind of negative speech.
While we're now in the middle or the end or the wherever we are, because it changes minute by minute, as individuals, how can we be sensitive to these words, to these divides, to these concerns, so that we as people, people to people, make sure that we are not making things worse?
Yeah, I think there's a few things we can do. I think one, is first of all, just have a spirit of generosity. I think most people are nervous, afraid, and I think when that happens, we tend to first think about ourselves, and so that involves things like hoarding. Like, oh, I'm gonna just buy a bunch of face masks and just keep them at home. But think about being a little more generous with some of your basic supplies and things of that nature. And I think a kind word goes a long way. I remember going to the supermarket soon after LA announced social distancing matters, and they didn't start to implement all the policies in the supermarkets. I felt so bad for the grocery store workers because they're trying to stock things and try to run the cash register, and people are just being mean to them. And that's unnecessary. I mean, these are people doing their job, and we need them to do their job, and we should be thankful rather than chew them out because the lines are long. So I think some kindness goes a long way. At the same time, as we think about the policies that we're going to entertain for the long term, we want to think about ourselves as a community. We want to think that what is the best policy response that we can have for, say, the city of LA as a whole, or for our state as a whole, or for the country as a whole, rather than what's really best for me or for my family or my specific community. I think once we have this shared vision and understanding that germs don't respect political boundaries or respect identities, that we might have a whole different viewpoint on how we want to think about mitigation and control going forward.
From your vantage point, is racism ramping or is racism abating? Please say abating.
I wish I could. I think we've had this underlying structure of racism that has never gone away. What happens, though, is that diseases give people opportunities to express their hidden prejudices. Yeah. And this is not the first time. I mean, with SARS, we saw discrimination against Asians as well. There was some evidence of discrimination against, African American people with the advent of Ebola.
I know that there is that issue of I need to blame somebody for something. I mean, you spoke about power in racism, but there's also the I need to make this someone else's responsibility in order to explain it to myself.
Yeah. So, we're living in turbulent times. And people want some sense of normalcy and control. It's a basic, fundamental human need to have some control over their lives. And the problem is with something like this, where your world is turned topsy-turvy, there's not a lot of control. The one thing you can do that's comforting to some is to find scapegoats and victim blame. And so we start to blame other people. Yeah, it's not our fault. It's not because our public health infrastructure is underdeveloped and underfunded. It's because of these other people and their bad behaviors in this other government and all those kinds of things. And it's easy and comforting, and it gives us this feeling of illusionary control to do this victim blaming. And for some people, it's a way to vent their frustrations by committing a hate crime against another person, but at the end of the day, these are counterproductive. They don't actually solve the problems and the fundamental root causes of what we're facing.
Fascinating and sad and important subjects, and hopefully on the other side of this, it will not be as critical as it feels right now.
I agree 100%.
All right. Thank you so much, Dr.
Thank you.
Gee.